Screams. I could hear screams somewhere in the back of my mind. They seemed to be coming from two separate directions, but don't even try to ask me what those directions were. The best description I could give is that one set of screams seemed to come from somewhere above me. There were three separate voices, and the persistent musical tones of electronic devices that always accompanied the newcomers. The other screams, if they can even be called that, seemed to come from somewhere below me. I could hear hundreds, thousands of voices wailing and moaning. There were curses in languages that I'd never known and could not understand, but were still unmistakable as the most vile words ever uttered. I could almost feel the pain that those tormented voices bore to my ears. My awareness lasted only a moment before something reached up from below and took hold of my very being. I couldn't feel it in the way that you might feel a hand grabbing your arm. No, it was as though something bound itself to my sense of self, the core of my essence, and pulled it down, away from the voices above. There was no pain, no sense of injury, but I knew with all of my mind that whatever was below meant me great harm. I could feel its malicious power salivating over me, as though I were nothing more than a savory morsel for it to devour. "Get back, foul beast! This soul is not yours to take!" It was one of the voices from above. There was a warmth to it that seemed to permeate through me, or whatever there was of me. I realized that I could not feel any of my limbs, my thorax, any part of my body. There was just me, my awareness of self, and the screaming voices. Something reached down from above, enveloping me in a searing warmth that tore me away from the creature below. This new sensation was carried through the voice that had spoken from above. It was hot, too hot, burning at the periphery of my being, sending shockwaves of pain through senses I didn't know existed. I had to turn away, to escape from the smouldering fire that engulfed me. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. I couldn't even scream as the fire drew me closer to itself. "Oh, Matt again. I think this one might be one of yours," said the voice. There was another presence, this one as cold as ice, almost soothing, but dark. It wasn't the same as the thing from below, but there was a seething hunger, a sense of violence and death, the likes of which I'd never known in life. Wait, that was a strange thought. Why had I thought in life? The closer I drew to the seething fire, the more aware, the more awake I became. I could smell the sulphurous stench of burnt gunpowder, that peculiarly human propellant. One of their annoyingly accurate and powerful rounds had slammed into my carapace, just above the third heart, with enough force to shatter my exoskeleton. Instantly fatal. I was, or should be, dead. But where was the Hive Mother? The Hive Mother was supposed to be there to welcome us into the afterlife, to grant us our eternal reward for the great deeds we had accomplished in life. Those we slew in service to the Hive were to serve as our eternal slaves, to be devoured over and over again to satiate our hunger. None of it was there. "Yes, I see, Pius. This is indeed one of mine. Shall I take over?" said the new cold voice. "Please." The flame gave way to piercing lances of ice. They were cold, deathly cold, that seamed into my being, and seemed to sap even the memory of warmth from me. I was still moving upward as before, but with tearing pain, as though barbed spears were being drawn from my ethereal body. My sight returned first, just in time to see a human male, in a shining suit of anachronistic armor, scowl at my broken body and storm from the room. I had just enough peace of mind to look down and see the massive, oozing hole in my exoskeleton, to see my inner flesh flowing back into place. Then came the voice, my throat ragged, then hearing, and I realized my throat hurt because I was screaming. "That's quite enough of that," said another man, dressed in a black cloak, with a small collection of bones sewn into the fabric. His words caused my mandibles to clack closed, and sealed away my voice. "Now, my friend Pius went to all the trouble of dragging your sorry ass back from the edge of Hades, just to figure out you really didn't deserve it," said the man, smiling wickedly. "That means you're stuck in my court, and I'm sure my demon snare tells you just what kind of court that is. So I'll dispense with the pleasantries and get straight to business. What are they?" "Who?" I asked. I could speak again, but not much else. I could move just enough to look around the room. A strange, boxy white structure, instead of the more homely earthen caverns of my kind. "I said we're getting straight to business," said the man. There was a shift in his voice, a deepening and background echo that couldn't have come from such a soft mass of flesh. "Tell me where the children are." I froze. Children? That's right. We'd come hunting for food amongst the newcomers, the humans. Their young were ambulatory and easily herded. The few adult females guarding the daycare had been no match for our hive guardians. "The guardians will have taken those they did not kill and eat immediately back to the hive," I said. The words came out unbidden before my mind caught up with what was happening. Hive mother, forgive me. "Where is the hive?" The man's face disappeared into the shadow of his cloak. He seemed to grow in size, to suck up all of the light in the room. "I cannot tell you in a way you would understand." "Fine, you will show me," said the man. He stepped closer and drew a long metal shaft from beneath his cloak. There was a small circular disc at the end that glowed brightly. I couldn't move. The disc pressed into my exoskeleton, then through it, touching something deep inside my inner flesh. It was cold. So cold that it burned as he pressed it into my thorax 2 more times before pressing the disc against my forehead. "I seal your hearts and mind in the name of..." The name was like a white-hot brand through my mind that shattered my awareness. "And I, Matagan, bind you as my eternal slave." "What did you do?" I asked. The chains of his words were already closing around my mind. I knew I could move my pinchers again, stand and walk, but something wouldn't let me. Something seemed to stop even the thought of moving on without this man's orders. "Pius, I think this one has what we need. Do you want to get another?" The man in silver armor peeked back through the door. "I don't think there are any of mine here. As much as I hate to say it, your skills with undead would serve our purposes better than burning away the few souls that remain, and time is of the essence." "Fair enough. I'll let my master have the others." The one in the black cloak drew a coldly glowing symbol in the air with the tip of his finger. I recognized it as the name he'd spoken earlier. The name that I knew marked each of my 3 hearts and was seared into my mind. The name its owner wouldn't even let me hear. I could hear the screams, though. The eternal screams of my former hive mates, as that same unknowable being tore their souls asunder. "Now, insect, show us your hive," said the man in silver armor. "If you play nice, I might release you back to Hades, instead of feeding you to